Hi everyone, welcome to another Grimgar video. I'm finally off my vacation. I can finally make more content now. I've been getting asked for quite a while now to make more content talking about the classes of Grimgar. So I asked you guys yesterday what classes you want me to talk about first. And of course, you all picked the arguably most complicated class in Grimgar, the fucking Dread Knights. Also, yes, I will be saying Dread Knights in this video because I know that in certain translations and versions of the story, they do translate it as Dark Knight, but in all official sources, it is Dread Knight. But before we begin, please hit the like button, share, tell me in the comments down below. And today's video is also sponsored by HelloFresh. Stay tuned for an ad halfway through the video. First off, what is the Dread Knight? The Dread Knight is essentially a fast mobile damage dealer. They can cast magic and can buff themselves, debuff enemies, and the majority of people who are Dread Knights are usually outcasts from society. Usually. Mostly. Okay, they're all jackasses. The vast majority of Dread Knights are not that dissimilar from Ranta. Ranta does eventually become more sociably decent near the end of the story, but the majority of Dread Knights are kind of all assholes or basically spineless jackasses. The vast majority of the community around Alterna and basically most people in Grimgar in general dislike them because they follow the chaos god Skullhelm. Skullhelm is chaos incarnate. He also does have certain restrictions on the class that I'll get into in a little bit, but essentially, as long as the Dread Knight that is under Skullhelm's oaths follow their own path and what they want to do, he will let them be. Skullhelm also is one of the funnier gods that actually allows you to keep your magic after you die and turn into a zombie. What? Dread Knight zombies are a problem because they have the tankiness of a tank, and this is due to the fact that zombies in Grimgar cannot be harmed by anything that isn't light magic, with the speed of a Dread Knight and their spells. So if you ever see an undead Dread Knight, you kill them immediately. They're probably one of the worst classes, if not the worst class, to be turned into an undead. Dread Knights actually treat their students and their training area kind of like a really weird church. They kind of just come off as very cultish, which is one of the problems that a lot of people have with Dread Knights in general. They go out of their way to kind of lure people who are outcasts of society to join their guild, specifically because there's such little Dread Knights in the world because of the way that everyone treats Dread Knights. Out of all the classes, Dread Knight has the lowest numbers in Alterna. By my count, through the entire story, we've only seen probably maybe 4 Dread Knights, and one of them was undead. Besides Ranta, there is Gomi, Dread Knight that I can describe as hilariously unattractive. Miyuki, the self-proclaimed strongest Dread Knight in the world. Again, self-proclaimed, not actually proven. A Dread Knight elder lady who chastises Ranta earlier in one of the volumes. And the one undead Dread Knight we find in the Dread Knight Guild once Alterna is raided by goblins. Equipment and strategies. Most Dread Knights actually use hidden run tactics when fighting. Dread Knights, for the most part, are equipped with very light armor. Now, I know in the anime, you see Ranta very early on having kind of medium armor because he's got a chest plate, arm plates, and shin plates to keep him safe, and he's got decent armor. A lot of you from the anime may not know this, but a lot of the guilds who train all these students technically give them hand-me-down equipment. Ranta was given basically just a shirt, pants, gloves, and a long sword. That's all he was given in the light novel and in the manga, and everyone else wasn't that much better off. Which reminds me, I should probably make a video talking about, like, fun facts about Grimgar that people don't know, but I'll get back to that later. A lot of the armor that's specifically given to Dread Knights is light so they can be more faster and mobile. They actually go out of their way to train their legs in ways that make it easier for them to jump out of situations and dodge better. They probably have the highest mobility of all the classes. Dread Knights have really, really good options in their move pool. You can mix and match attacks together, and as we see later on in the light novel, Ranta mixes his abilities together to make new ones, which is something we don't really see from other Dread Knights. But before we continue in this video, let's talk about today's sponsor. If you want affordable, tasty, healthy food with the satisfaction of making it yourself with all the ingredients and not having to worry about ingredient portion sizes, click the link in the description or use this code on your first order and get 70% off and free shipping. Thank you to HelloFresh for the sponsorship. Now for Dread Knight's abilities. The first ability that Dread Knights actually get when they are brought into the guild is Street Smarts. Yes, Dread Knights are essentially taught how to haggle, how to make money on the streets, how to get information from people, and to know where is the best place to actually get information from strangers. We see Ranta do this quite a lot early on in the anime and the light novel, and the manga, I believe, too, where he haggles down prices a lot. And later in the light novel, we see Ranta being by himself, looking for information around a town full of orcs, goblins, and elves, and he goes into a bar and locates who probably has the best information in the bar. The second ability that... Jesus Christ, I forgot about this. The second ability that the Dread Knights are given is the ability to summon a demon that is a reflection of their own soul Now, early on for Dread Knights, this demon is basically completely worthless. Because 1, you can't summon them in daytime when they're at low levels. And 2, most people go out and fight in daytime because if you try to fight goblins at nighttime, it's a bad idea. So most Dread Knights can't even use their summoned demon until much later on in their levels, which the only way to level up a Dread Knight's demon is to give them vices. Vices are essentially sacrificial parts of your enemies that you give to an altar that upgrades your demons. Early on, your demon is able to whisper jokes to you. Why the fuck is that a thing that you buy? You have to buy this with money. You buy this ability with money, Ronto. What the fuck? Later levels are able to whisper in your ear, letting you know their enemies are nearby. Now, these whispers are usually very ambiguous, so sometimes they'll just tell you, hey, you might die soon, and that might be them telling you there might be an enemy nearby, or it could just be them fucking with you. You have no idea. And again, you paid money for this! And even higher levels, they are able to stun enemies if they feel like it. And after that, in much higher levels after this, they are able to attack and do serious damage to enemies. And summoned demons are actually at the level where they are probably just as good as other teammates in damage and in being able to help you. As much as Ronta's demon fucks with him a lot, it does genuinely care about Ronta's well-being and will go out of its way to protect Ronta at all costs. It is going to have its way to knock Ronta out of the way of attacks and take hits for him to keep him alive. The first attack ability you get to learn at lower levels of being a Dread Knight is Hatred Cut. Or what Ronta just says, Hatred. Anger Thrust is, as it sounds, a thrust attack. It has been theorized by a lot of people that a lot of the attacks that the Dread Knights actually use in story are actually copied from the Warriors Guild. This is one of them because it's very similar to the Warriors Thrust attack. Propel Leap or Exhaust is a specialized move made to give you space between you and your enemy. The Dread Knights use this a lot. This is one of their main abilities. This ability is actually really good because it can be utilized in more than one way. Ronta uses it to make a lot of distance between him and his enemy, but he also uses this to propel himself forward and actually hip check their enemies as well. At the end of Volume 2, he does this quite a lot, and he does this a lot in Volume 3. He can even propel himself into the air if he wants to. Dark Terror or Dread Terror, a spell that causes great fear in your enemies. It uses Skullhelm's miasma to go into the enemy's mouth, ears, and nose and causes them to panic and freak out. It's very lethal because the enemies attack without any worry for their own safety. You need to be very careful when using this because the enemies could attack you without any caution. Ronta found this out the hard way when he first used it, and the enemies started attacking him wildly and almost kills him. He only uses this probably like once or twice throughout the light novel because he has to be very careful when he uses it, but when he does use it, it causes enemies to go fucking batshit crazy. This does not work very well on enemies who are more intelligent, however. Expel Frenzy is a defensive skill that, say it with me now, creates distance, the thing that Dread Knights are best known for. It involves locking the Dread Knight's sword with their enemy's sword, then shoving them and jumping backwards. If you couple this with Leap Out, it can be incredibly lethal. Dread Aura. Basically, it's an aura that envelops the Dread Knight, in this case Ronta, and gives them basically a power-up in almost all stats. It's not a huge power-up, but it's enough to make a difference. Leap Out is an ability that is used to jump straight at your enemy, and it delivers a very powerful slashing attack. If used properly, it can actually decapitate your enemies. Slice. This is a sword technique that actually uses a figure 8 slashing attack. It's kind of hard to dodge because the sword kind of goes everywhere when they're slashing at someone, so it's really good to use at someone who is really good at dodging because it makes it harder for them to dodge. Missing, probably one of my favorite moves, causes the Dread Knight to use Dread Knight illusions while making really weird movements with their body to make it look like they're moving one way when they're actually moving another way. Dread Wave, this spell causes your enemy to feel basically like they're a little sick. Blood Venom, this essentially is a powered up version of Dread Wave. While Dread Wave makes it feel like you're having a small cold, Blood Venom is more like having a significant flu. It gives you a debuff on pretty much all your stats. Shadow Step is an ability that is trained after a very long time. You have to be really good at using Exhaust, and eventually you start being able to dodge in ways that the enemy is not expecting. Ronta uses this quite a lot in Volume 14++. Ronta utilizes his illusion magic with his exhaust abilities, making it very hard for enemies to know where he's going. Shadow Step seems to be one of the highest level forms of exhaust in the light novel, and is heavily implied to be something that only masters know how to use. Now for more bonus stuff, as it is implied in the light novel, but not outright stated, a lot of the classes in Grimgar have hidden secret ability. For example, the Thief class has the Gleaming Light ability. Or in the Dread Knights class, it's heavily implied that Skullhelm possibly could be giving you some aid without you actually knowing. All Dread Knights have to go under oath when they are sworn into going into the guild. This oath causes you to, 1, not be able to switch your class from Dread Knight to anything else, or else other Dread Knights will find you and kill you. And also, you can't have sex. God damn it, Ronta. Throughout the story, Ronta constantly talks about how he wants to do all these sexual things, but he never actually can because he's under oath to not allow himself to do so. Now, this oath is probably not really pushed upon everyone all the time because there are other Dread Knights later on that heavily implied to have already broken their oath and have gotten no repercussions for this. However, Ronta, being one of the only ones who has not lost his V card yet, was given a significant power-up when he was fighting Takagashi. He let his emotions flow when he started thinking about his friends and started thinking about Moguzu and how he misses him after he died. This causes his summoned demon, Zodiac, to actually power up and turn into a Grim Reaper form. This was never taught to him, but is implied to be something that's always been there. But Ronta, ignoring his inner feelings and thoughts, was never able to tap into this power until now. Zodiac made jokes about this being some trade secret, but it could also be implied that he wasn't actually joking. It was basically something that was always there, but this aspect of the class was never actually taught to them. And it is more of something that the guild decided to let the students find out for themselves. Just like the thief's ability to see the gleaming light, and the mage's ability to use something called true magic, which we'll get to in the other videos. So this actually implies one of two things. One, if you keep your vow to Skullhelm and stay abstinent, he may assist you in some way because you're making a sacrifice for him. Or, because he's a fucking chaos god, if you decide to go about living your life the way you choose to live it and follow your heart, because that's a huge part of Ronta's character, following his heart and what he believes in, then the chaos god, who his entire thing is about do whatever the fuck you want, will also just give you a power up. Again, we're talking about chaos god, so it could be both for all we know. If I had to actually put money on which one it is, it probably is the one where Ronta decides to actually follow his own heart and decide to do what he wants to do without hesitation. That is the thing that I'm betting on. But again, Chaos God could just be doing things for lulz. Who knows? But that is my video on the Dread Knights. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button, share, tell me in the comments down below. And do not forget that I live stream on Tuesdays and Thursdays and sometimes Saturdays on our Twitch and my streaming gaming page here on YouTube. I also have a TikTok and a Discord down in the description if you guys want to check that stuff out. And keep an eye on our community page. I'll be putting up the next class that you guys can vote for soon. See you guys in the next video.